What's up, guys? I hope that you're all doing well. So today I thought I would take a closer look at my LionSTEEL T5. Now, I picked this knife up a few weeks back, and I have to say that so far I am nothing but impressed with this knife. I mean, just looking at the aesthetic appeal here, it really just draws your eye, but it's more than just aesthetics. When you pull this knife out of the package for the first time and you get that nice solid grip on it, you can really tell that it's just going to serve you great out in the field. Now, for starters, it has a 5-inch drop point Nylox steel blade. And that Nylox I was a little unfamiliar with when I first saw this knife online. I had heard of it, but I didn't know much about it. So I did some research and I read some great reviews, and over time it's proven itself to be just a quality steel. It's got excellent edge retention, and it's considered a stainless steel, so that's definitely something to keep in mind. It's not marketed as the toughest steel out there. It's certainly not brittle, and it's not going to blow apart on you the first time you use it, but just keep that in mind. It's just not the toughest steel out there. But the shape of the blade I absolutely love. When they came out with this knife, I believe they marketed it as kind of their tactical survival knife, and it definitely kind of has that tactical look to it. But I gotta say that it really covers a broad spectrum of knife categories. I mean, it was great for batoning, it was great for feather sticking and carving, so as far as woodworking goes, you could use this knife for bushcrafting too. Definitely doesn't have that Scandi grind, so a lot of purists would definitely not call it a Scandi, or I'm sorry, a bushcraft knife. But again, that's kind of up to you on how you want to categorize your knives. But I think that it would make a great survival knife. It's large enough to fit that bill. Again, the blade being 5 inches long, a lot of people like their survival knives to be at least 5.5 at the very minimum. So I think that this still fits in that category. And as far as the tactical knife goes, again, I think that it fits that bill perfectly too. It's also got this MOLLE compatible sheath, and we'll touch on the sheath here more in a little bit, but I have seen some guys put this on their kit and they love it as kind of a combat knife too. So it's also something to keep in mind. Now, the handle, very comfortable. It's a single piece micarta handle, sort of tacoed around the tang, if you will. I would still consider it to be a full tang knife. A lot of people might fight me on that, but I would definitely consider it to be full tang. But it also has this milling on the micarta. It just gives you a really good grip. It's definitely not going anywhere. Back to the blade for a second. It has this awesome thumb groove up here, which again really gives you that good grip. But as far as the spine of the knife goes, it's not really 90 degrees anywhere. It has almost kind of what looks like a false edge. Then you look up here and it's not quite a false edge, but it's kind of useless for throwing sparks. So just keep that in mind. I was able to throw a few with this thumb groove up here, but the spine isn't very good for throwing sparks. I think that's why they put that sharpening choil. Well, one of the reasons they put that sharpening choil in there for your ferro rod as well. So that was able to produce some sparks for me. However, it depends on the size of your ferro rod, because if it's too large, it will not fit in there. I have one ferro rod that is too large to fit and it will not work. Now, some LionSTEELs have a 90-degree edge on the back of the tang back here. That's also where you can throw your sparks, but this is not one of those knives. And I'll show you one of those knives here in a second, another one from LionSTEEL. But when it comes to using your ferro rod, stick with the choil if it works for your ferro rod. Now, again, I do have another LionSTEEL here. This is the M4, another super high quality knife coming from LionSTEEL. Now, despite the name M4, this is not M4 steel, this is M390 steel. And it's a fantastic steel. A lot of people would consider it a super steel. Great edge retention, also stainless, not super tough. Again, not brittle, kind of like the Nylox, a little less tough than the Nylox. Not brittle still, but I would not use it for any heavy chopping or batoning. But a knife this size, I don't see myself doing that anyway. It's just something to keep in mind. But the main reason I wanted to talk about it is because this one does have that 90-degree spine. Or I'm sorry, not spine, the back of the tang back here. You can strike your ferro rod with this. This choil is just much too small to put a ferro rod in. So anyway, another super high quality knife coming from LionSTEEL. Back to the T5. Touch on the sheath a little bit. Now, I do love their sheaths. This is fantastic. I'm not a huge fan of the retention strap on these leather sheaths. This one's still a bit tough to get undone. Try not to fling the knife off the table while I'm doing that. But I think over time it might be a little bit easier. Anyway, I kind of prefer when it comes to leather sheaths, the drop-in style. It kind of has its own retention, but this really isn't that bad. And the retention strap does not really get in the way. So when you draw your knife out, I don't really see that becoming an issue where it, it cuts into the retention strap. I have had knives in the past where it does. It cuts right through the retention strap over time. Don't think that's going to be an issue. Last thing I wanted to touch on with the sheath was this belt loop here. It kind of stops at this point right here. I've heard of guys having issues where this sits above the belt and kind of digs into their side a little bit, especially if they're a little heavier set and have some, love handles. Hasn't really been an issue for me, but I thought I would bring it up, just something to, again, keep in mind. But overall, fantastic knife. A little pricier, running you around $150 to $190, depending on the style that you get. You can get it with or without this black coating, and of course, different colors on the micarta handle. But highly recommend it. I think that it's a great knife, that has many, many uses. So anyway, thanks for watching, guys. I really do appreciate it. If you'd be so kind, feel free to hit that like and subscribe button, and I will talk to you all very soon.